Today's session is, like I said in the previous video, chest and shoulders. So you saw me do side delts, or perhaps you missed that one, but yeah, that was yesterday in terms of when this was filmed. Today, coming in and basically just focusing mainly on upper chest, and then also getting a bit of front delt work in there as well. So at this point in time, I wasn't able to directly train my front delts in a way that I felt was actually useful to me. So I could do front cuffed cable raises, but unfortunately I just didn't really like the way that was feeling, and I found that it was just engaging a lot of my core and sometimes forearms, things like that. So it was one of those ones where, yes, I could have added it in, but for the amount of time and the amount that I didn't enjoy it, I don't think it was necessary. So what I chose to do instead was focus on this machine here. So this is a shoulder press machine, which in the position that I hold the handles does put a fair bit of strain in a good way on my front delts and especially my triceps. So that's another reason why I like it, because the V bar, and at this point in time I'm pretty sure the straight bar, was feeling quite uncomfortable for push down, so I was limited to just single arm extensions and maybe some light overheads. But yeah, basically this was ideal for working both of those elements. So at this point in time, I'm starting with the shoulder press machine, and as you can see here, I'm just going to past failure, basically to the point where I can't even really support the weight and it's just constantly coming down. And then you can see on the last few reps, I then start to use a little bit of momentum and try and get that weight up. But again, it's because I can't go any heavier than this, not because the machine didn't go any heavier at this point. I believe I still had a little bit of leeway, perhaps 5 or 10 kilograms, but it's more so the fact that I couldn't take more strain on my wrist. So this was kind of the maximum weight that I could do that felt like it was taxing me. Now I've said that, I could have been on the max stack, but either way, I wouldn't want to go any heavier, and that's why this was a great machine. Now, had I have had more time left on the bulk, I would have probably had to change this up. So to make this more difficult without adding more weight, I'd probably move this to the second exercise. But that was leading me on to my next point, is that what I would often do here is alternate the order. So some weeks I'd start with, this is the first exercise, and then other sessions, as you'll see in the next clip, I would start with a Smith machine incline bench press. So I've only really started doing Smith machine, or, well, to be fair, I've only really started doing Smith machine in the last, I'd say probably 2 to 3 years properly, maybe a little bit longer. But yeah, the first sort of 4 to 5 years of my lifting journey, I never used a Smith machine. And at one point in time, I just literally wanted them out of all gyms, which just shows how much your opinion can change based on your circumstances. And even before I really knew that my wrist was fucked, I could still use this for many other things like RDLs and yeah, loads of other really good stuff, which I can't be bothered to go into right now. But basically what I'm trying to say is this has been something which I've kind of utilized more over the last few years, and it's been really good for training to failure, not just without a spot, even sometimes with a spot, but also I enjoyed building up my close grip bench press strength on here. And I think it's good for lockout and just kind of those partial reps. And yeah, especially recovering from injury, stuff like that, having that stability can be really good. So especially with the incline, that's also something which I've focused more on in probably the last year or so. So when I began doing this, it was mainly for close grip bench press, and I would have the bench on just one incline above flat. So I guess level 1 or 2, depending on what your bench says. But yeah, obviously at this point here, it's more so around 45 degrees, perhaps a bit less. And that's because now I'm trying to work pretty much solely my front delts, if I'm honest, and then upper chest as well. So yeah, I'd say honestly, the main thing I'm trying to get out of this is kind of front delts, but it doesn't mean that I'm training with the sole purpose of, scientifically targeting that muscle. It just means that when I'm doing this and I'm enjoying it, and if I have to think about what I actually want out of this exercise, as long as I'm getting some front delt soreness and some activation, that's good, and upper chest is definitely welcome. So for me, I am really happy with my chest, and to be honest, if it didn't grow any more with my current physique, I wouldn't mind too much. But I'm not opposed to having some upper chest development, because I do find that my lower chest, like most people's, is a bit more developed. So yeah, as you can see here, dropped the weight down. The first set was a 20, and a 10, and obviously doing the 3 sets, I might have even been more. You'll see at the end of the video when I just round up how many sets I did, but obviously that did tire me out. So moving on to this here, is going to be very difficult, and so I'm ultimately going to get less reps. Whereas when I'm doing this now, even though I've actually lost a bit of weight since this clip because I've been dieting, I'm still very, very strong. But that's because now I pretty much only start with that exercise. So now I'm saying that, I am realizing that potentially at some point I probably should mix it up a little bit and then put that back in first. But I am really enjoying the way those sessions are going, and they're fun. I'm also building a lot of strength and they're productive. So after that, I've then moved on to a pec fly. So I'm pretty strong on a pec fly. Again, this is something which I have done more and more over the past few years. So I did used to do a little bit of cable fly on obviously the cables, but I found that it just really gave me a bit of an imbalance sometimes depending on what foot I put forward. And I don't know if that was just my OCD. And also looking back at some photos, I do find that my left chest was actually already perhaps a little bit overdeveloped maybe. But all of those factors taken into account, I think that for me, I would prefer to do a machine fly. And when I recommend it to my clients, that's usually what I go for, just based on the setup, the symmetry, and also realistically the actual availability of the machine. But yeah, I absolutely love this pec fly machine. I find that every single gym can be very, very different based on the kind of width of the handles, how low and high the seat can go. Obviously, some can go very heavy compared to others. And yeah, they just feel different. There's two fly machines in this gym. One of them I love for pec flies, which I'm doing here, and the other one I love for rear delts. So it just shows that it is beneficial to have both. And that's another reason why I love this gym, because they just have some really great pieces of equipment. So yeah, obviously really lucky to have this gym close by and be able to train here. But with this one, I actually am rounding my shoulders a little bit. And that is something that I'm doing kind of consciously, to the point where I'm basically trying to slightly engage my front delts, but not hurt myself or over engage them to where they're going to affect my rotator cuffs and put strain on myself, you know, affecting my recovery and just feeling like it's not doing any good. So here, what I'm trying to do is really work the partials, still try and keep my chest up, still try and keep the shoulder blades tucked back a little bit. But if the shoulders do roll forward to get those last few reps, I don't mind, purely because it's part of the plan. So yeah, with this one here, we've got the last probably 1 or 2 sets to go. And at this point, it's just about trying to fatigue that chest a little bit more. Sometimes I'll do, you know, maybe 3 sets, sometimes I'll do 4, maybe even 5. It kind of depends on how tired I am, how fatigued I am, and the volume through the rest of the session. So usually I do keep it quite regimented, and it will be based on the rough amount of sets I've trained in that session. But for my clients and in the past, I've always had a very regimented plan, because I do find that it helps with overall development and tracking. So I think that's changed over time. Now I find it's a bit better to listen to my body because I've got more knowledge. But yeah, definitely I wouldn't underestimate the actual merit in having a serious plan that's designed for you. So for anyone out there that needs a plan, I'll put my coaching link in the bio. If you guys want to apply, go ahead and do so on there, or you can also click the link in my Instagram bio. So yeah, I'll leave it here, and we'll get a pose down at the end. Okay, so that was a total of sort of 3 sets of the shoulder press, 4 sets on the incline press Smith machine, and then I did 4 sets of pec fly. So I didn't record them all, but yeah, a lot of volume for me, to be fair, especially because I don't really train chest. But to be honest, I'm doing all of that for my front delts, so I'll probably have commentated over that, and you'll probably see the ins and outs of why I did it. So obviously don't necessarily use that for your own training, but let's see what the pump's saying. So I was 256 pounds today, so bulk is definitely almost at an end. I'm going to do about another 10 days. Little mini cut, probably to around 235, 240. So drop around sort of 15 to 20 pounds, and then I'll go back up to a bulk and hit at least 270 before Christmas time. So yeah, I'm gonna now go and do the first round of my check-ins for the week, as it's a Monday, and then get some food in me and just make sure I actually make the most out of this bulk. So yeah.